Narration is the broad term for storytelling. A personal narrative is a piece of autobiographical writing in which the writer describes an event that stands out in his or her memory for some reason. For example, it might have been funny or touching. The writer may have learned something from it, or perhaps his or her life has changed in some way as a result of it. A personal narrative has the same elements as a short story: characters, setting, and action. Although they are based on real experiences, personal narratives may include some fictional elements. This lesson will review the common features and elements of a personal narrative, provide some suggestions on how to craft your own narrative about a personal experience from your childhood, review what makes an effective introduction and conclusion in this genre of writing, and finally, it will provide some helpful editing and proofreading suggestions to help fine-tune your rough draft before submitting the final copy. Personal narratives have a similar story structure to the short story. A narrative usually involves a character in conflict, and the character is likely you, as it is a personal story of your experience. Because it is personal, it is written in the first person. You will hear and see personal pronouns such as I, we, and us when telling about the thoughts, emotions, and actions of the event. Personal narratives are focused on a single event, rather than telling a story that spans over years. Details of character, setting, conflict, and plot are usually chosen and ordered chronologically in such a way as to develop the main theme or idea. The beginning of the story usually establishes the character, setting, and mood. The middle of the narrative describes events in which the character deals with the main conflict and other minor conflicts. The end of the narration tells how the conflict is resolved and reveals lessons learned. When starting the writing process of your personal narrative, it's a good idea to start by thinking about experiences from your childhood that are memorable in some way and are ones you are comfortable sharing with an audience. You can get ideas from reading the short narratives attached to the lesson. You can also talk with parents, family, and friends to generate ideas. They might remember events they associate with you. You can also flip through photos and cards to help jog your memory. Use a web or list to capture your thinking at this stage. Once you have narrowed your list down, select 2 or 3 and replay the incident in your mind. More fully expand on the events by trying to recall and describe what you could taste, feel, smell, see, and hear. Jot down the 5 W's of who was there. What was the problem? Where were you? When did it take place? How did you and others solve and respond to the problem? And what did you learn as a result of the event? Share your very rough notes and tell a friend about one of these experiences. Ask them to provide feedback to you to help clarify and fill in the gaps in your story. The questions they ask and things they notice will help you create a better narrative. Be efficient and select the key details to help tell your story. Rearrange and order the events chronologically so that you build up excitement and suspense. Because personal narratives are brief, the introduction needs to be short and efficient. You need to capture your reader's attention and interest and give them a reason to keep reading. The opening paragraph sets the scene and tone and provides other useful background information that helps set up the conflict or problem. Depending on the style and purpose, your personal opinion may also be stated clearly here or expressed more indirectly. The body of the narrative develops the action of the event. It is clearly organized into a chronological sequence of key details and events that lead up to the moment when the important or pivotal action or decision happens. Transitional phrases help the reader to move between major parts of the action. Vivid descriptions of character, setting, and action engage the reader, as does the use of key pieces of dialogue. Using a tone consistent with what is set in the introduction helps to keep the narrative coherent and believable. Narratives can come to a close with reflective statements that allow the author to make observations from a distance about the event or experience. Sometimes the author can leave you with an open-ended question or a new piece of information that they are still grappling with, so you can help make the connection for them between the event and the question or new information. Another strategy is to provide new or refined thinking about what they realize as a result of thinking about the experience again in hindsight. A strong conclusion in a narrative is not a summary or recap of the event, or a remix of the introduction, as it might be in an essay. When editing your rough draft, consider not only the mechanics, such as punctuation, capitalization, and grammar usage, but also word choice, organization of ideas, and making sure the purpose and message are clear. Review your introduction and conclusions for effectiveness. Select a title that works for your piece. Put your best work forward. Follow the tips and suggestions in this lesson to ensure your personal narrative is a success.